there, Di. How are you?
I'm great, thanks, Gina. Lovely to speak with you.
Lovely to have you here too. I'm really looking forward to having a chat with you today about it's never too late to make a change. And I've invited you to have this interview with me because I think you're a role model for people who want to make changes later in life. So I'd like to ask you, actually, you work as a life coach and you do a modality called matrix therapies. So I wanted to ask you if you could share your journey about how you came to be a life coach and when you did that in your life.
Okay, fine, Gina. Well, I was a single mum for many years, and so I just had to keep working to survive. And then when I got to about, I think I was 62 or 63, I realised that, retirement was looming. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I was recovering from an operation, so I had to lie on the lounge, which I've never done. And spent 6 weeks reflecting and talking to friends as well, and really looking at what I wanted and listening to my inner wisdom. And one day it was like a voice from heaven saying life coaching, and it was just right for me because it was continual personal development. It meant I could make a contribution and I could earn an income. I've been interested in psychology for many years because I wanted to know why had I made the decisions in life that I had. I love people and I love helping people. So I started studying at 63 and registered my business at 63 and a half or 64, I think it was. Yeah.
Right. So you became a life coach officially at 64.
That's it. Yeah. And I've been for 4 years, 4.5, 4 years.
So you're now 68.
And a half.
And a half. You're a glowing role model for a 68-and-a-half-year-old, Di. But you know that. So you and I have had some conversations about aging workers, and I've read some, I've looked at some statistics, and what's really interesting is that there is more outgoing workers in our workforce than incoming workers, and a lot of and also the economic potential of senior Australians, a report that was done a couple of years ago, states that $10 billion of revenue is being lost by older Australians not being put back into the workforce. So, and I know there's a lot of conversation around retirement and aging, and another interesting statistic is that by the year 2050. The people over 65 years old will go from 14% today to 23%, which is actually double the number by 2050. So I want to, and this is one of the reasons we're doing this interview, I want to sort of just shed a bit of light and help people get a bit of a different perspective on aging and retirement, and that's your area. So I'd love you to share your philosophies on aging and retirement.
Yes, well, I'm very excited because I want to start educating people on having a whole different attitude towards aging. Currently, our society sort of puts you on the scrap heap, and unfortunately, a lot of people, as we age, we start to see the physical problems come up, and we might get comments from our children, and we think we're past it. And I just think it's so important to look at the opportunities. We can, in the words of the tarot card, dance within our restrictions, and it's about attitude.
That's nice, yes.
Yes. And it's our attitudes are the source of our actions. They define our present life. So I want to educate people on changing their attitudes and seeing things differently.
I'd like to point out something important here. It's not necessarily about having the money to do all of this. It's more of a change of a state of mind, which is what you've had to experience, isn't it?
Well, this is it. Yes, I've never had an abundance of money. I was only able to study coaching because my dear old dad died and left me some money. But we can have an attitude of abundance or an attitude of poverty. And my life is so abundant. I have so many things that I'm blessed with. And, okay, I'm not up and high all the time. Nobody is. But it's getting in touch with our inner resources and getting in touch with, if I can just quote something here.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
If people are committed to a personal cause or a dream, this really gives you a reason for living. And my workshops that I run help people get in touch with their personal meaning and dream. Often it takes a while to get to that point.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that, actually about your workshops that you run for people in a little while. But first I wanted to ask you, what are the main resistances for people that you've had to work through yourself too, I know, but what are the main resistances that you can share with people in their 50s and 60s about actually making a life change at that stage of life?
Well, I think fear is the greatest emotion that I come across with people. They're afraid that their health will give out. They're afraid they won't have enough financial resources. And there was one lady I was working with, and she was petrified about retiring because she'd worked all her life, even when her child was little. But I was in touch with her recently. She is having a ball. She's joined St John Ambulance and visits people in their home.
Yep.
She's going to Keep Fit class. She goes to U3A. That's an amazing resource, University of the Third Age. She's made new friends. She's going out to lunch. She's going overseas with her husband. Like, her life is so full. And I think she was the most frightened person I had ever spoken to about retiring.
Right, okay. So, you coach people one-on-one, don't you, with your work as well?
I do. Yes, it's help people realise what's blocking them, and we all have what's called limiting beliefs, and it's to clear those and then find our purpose, find our strengths, and basically it's really getting in touch with our inner resources. So many of us live out in the world and we don't get in touch with the inner resources, and that's another big thing in having a really successful life in the third stage. It's having this sense of meaning and hope and being in touch with something bigger than us.
Yes. How did you go about finding that? Or how are you developing that in your life? And how is that maintaining your life? Because obviously you've still got bills to pay, you've still got things you want to do that, costs money. You still have your children and your grandchildren. How does that work itself out for you personally?
Well, I'm still evolving, very much so. I mean, I'll never get there. My dear old dad used to say, "How will you be when you find yourself?" But
bless your dad.
He was gorgeous. I've just had a weekend with my eldest daughter in the country and my little granddaughter, and I was a bit crabby about a few things, and I thought, So I'm always observing myself, so that when something happens, I look at what do I need to learn here, and I'm studying compassion at the moment, and it's being compassionate to myself and others. It's knowing what I love and what regenerates me. Like, I adore classical music, and I adore opera. I adore going to the deep and meaningful movies. It's having friends. It's but always I'm reading and journaling. It is a commitment to personal growth, and then I'm able to be a better coach because I've been through a lot myself.
Yes. What would you say to those people who have had to come out of the workforce and they have so much skill and they've still got things they want to do? When I go back to that statistic and I look at the fact that this report says we're missing $10 billion of revenue in our economy that could come from people in their 50s and 60s being back, or 60s probably being back in the workforce. What would you say to people who are in that situation at the moment?
I would say let's work on your level of self-esteem and self-worth. Look at your strengths, get a very clear idea of your talents and your strengths, build up your confidence, and then go out and door knock or find connections and go and speak to people. Because I don't think employers will read resumes that are sent to them in the post, and I've had some people tell me that. It's about going out there, believing in yourself. I got my last job in the paid workforce at 59, and the man I worked for was frustrated because he couldn't work out how old I was. And I got the job, and 6 months into the job he said, "Well, how old are you?" So I told him I was nearly 60, and I said, "Would you have hired me if you knew how old I was?" No comment. So you see, he wouldn't have. But I had skills, and I worked for him for 7 years.
Okay. Okay, so that's a great story. So now I want to know about your work. Now I know you run workshops, And you've got workshops coming up in the future, and people can find that information on your website and also on the Adelaide Wellbeing website. Just actually talk about your workshops and how you help people make life changes later in life, and how you help coach them through their transition.
Yes, well, I'm doing one this Sunday called Design the Life You Want or Revamp the One You Have. Okay. And that's not just for people looking at retirement, it's for people who are burnt out, people who are in jobs that are no longer challenging, but they're too scared to leave the job, they need the money. People who maybe want to make a change, thinking about a seed change or a tree change. And it's looking at what's needed. It's looking at, there's a lot of work in this workshop. The 3 hours is not going to be enough. The people doing it will get a workbook. And we're going through things like what can you control. We're looking at your whole life as if it was a house, with each room a different area of your life, and how can you renovate it. We look at letting go of old ideas and emotions, and what have we gained with what we've learned in our life, and then we're going to do a blueprint for the next stage of life, which is still just the blueprint. It's always open to change. So, and looking at values, beliefs, things like that.
Yes.
So that's the workshop, and a lot can come from that. And I do find that with my work with matrix therapy, most of us, if not all of us, we have things that happened in our childhood that we've repressed. We've formed beliefs about ourselves, like if our father or a teacher said, "Oh, you're so dumb," we internalise that because we couldn't answer back. It's done before the age of 7. So that when we're, say, 25 and something comes up, we get the same feeling because we're saying, "Oh, I'm so dumb, I can't do this." But these limiting beliefs can be removed and resources added.
Yes.
That's one of the things I do anyway.
Oh, lovely. And then you do the one-on-one coaching to support that as well afterwards.
Oh, that's you part of the one-on-one coaching.
Okay, right. Yeah. So one thing I would like to just recap is that the common thread actually that's come through, and in my conversations with you, is that learning, wanting a desire for learning is one of the most important attitudes in not just in aging, actually, it's in life really. But that's what inspires me with your work and the way that you live, is that you're always open to learning something new. And so when you're open to learning something new, then you're creating new possibilities and new ideas that you're happy to, you go, right, okay, that could work, and you act on something, and then something new evolves. So it's an attitude of learning, isn't it, no matter what the age?
Yes, well, I've done some profiles on myself, and a love of learning is really, really high up there. And, you've met people yourself that are just too scared to open up, and it's not, things may have happened in their life. And again, in my workshop, I'm talking about Generation D and Generation E. And Generation D are the people that hang on to life by their fingernails, and they're desperate, and they think, oh, there's global financial crisis, there's terrorism, and there's family conflict, and we've just got to get through this. And I mean, I don't want to live like that. And I would love to help people live life fully and develop their potential.
With an attitude of learning.
Openness, an attitude of getting the best out of life despite what's happening around you. Yeah. It's like you think we're controlled by circumstances, but if we really look at it, we can influence little bits, we influence ourselves.
Yes.
And there are different areas in our life that are so important, like relationships. And if you're approaching retirement, if you need to look at your personal relationship, if you're in a major one, because that can be a time of stress. Look at all sorts of relationships, looking at the way you interact with people. Like, it's so important to have friends. And for me, I'm making lots of younger friends. I love being with younger people.
I'm not surprised.
And lots of lovely young men.
Yeah.
Lovely young men as well. Oh, it's beautiful.
Good on you, Di.
Well, I'm a mother figure, but it's just lovely to have their different way of looking at things.
It's keeping an open mind and an open heart to life, isn't it, as you age? Because it's really easy to get to even your 40s. I mean, I have to remind myself, and you think, I should have known that. Aren't I supposed to know that? Aren't I supposed to be here at this age? you know, and then I think, well, obviously not, because if I was, I would have been here, and I have yet more to learn, and on it goes. So I don't think it ever stops.
Being gentle on ourselves. I mean, I've driven myself so hard in my life. I've been very, very critical of myself in the past. And now I'm looking at, it's not a work-life balance. It's not work and life. We have one life. We integrate it. And like even just preparing this last workshop, before in my earlier days, I would have stuck at that computer no matter what. You know, I'd do it for 4 hours. Now in this last workshop preparation, I spent half an hour on the computer, or went out and fertilised the rose bush and looked at the garden, came back and did another half an hour, went and read my book. I've joined the library again. It's lovely reading non-learning things. It has a bit of
That's great.
So it's balancing, it's giving myself pleasure. This leisure is a really important content in getting older, and the old idea of retirement was you just spend all your time having leisure, but that's boring.
Yes.
We need to really look at the leisure that fills our spirit, that gives us fun. And so it's planning it, it's just living this integrated life that flows more, and being kind to ourselves. That's a really big lesson that I've learned.
Yes,
yeah.
That's lovely. That's lovely. And you made a very key point there. It's not about work-life balance. I don't really like that expression. I just think work-life, it's still disintegrating the two, isn't it? Actually, just an integrated life.
And I was brought up with the belief you've got to do all the work before you have any fun. And so I never got all the work done. You never do if you're a perfectionist, which was another problem.
Yeah.
So I didn't get much fun. Yes. So now I'm really making sure I get fun within the work. And it's wonderful. And I want to pass that on to help people discover that.
Yeah. That's lovely. Look, I really appreciate your time. It's been fun having this conversation, and I think, you know, it's great for people out there who are watching this to get a different perspective on ageing and retirement. Your information will be on the Adelaide Wellbeing website. It'll also be at the end of the video if people want to have a chat with you and find out about your upcoming workshops.
Yes, okay.
Which I think would be lots of fun as well, and also perspective changing. So
yes.
Thank you.
So thank you, Gina.
Appreciate it. Bye.